Good morning and welcome to the verse of the day. Plus, sorry a bit late this morning. These don't have an exact start time. I got up a little late because I stayed up a bit late. Anyways, today the verse of the day comes from first. Welcome to the verse of the day plus on January 16th, 2020. Today, the verse of the day comes from First Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. So whatever you eat or drink or whatever you do all for the glory of God. Yeah, do everything you do for God's glory. And, in other words, seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. You know, because you're doing it for God's glory, not your own, you'll most likely succeed a lot more. Although there's lots of people who succeed who do not do it for God's glory, but in the end, when judgment comes, it won't be counted as righteousness or whatever towards them. They just it's not gonna reap them a lot, get them a lot in the end. So I think that's about all I'm going to say for that. So I guess it's on to our reading. Let me put this down so I can see the chat. So we are beginning chapter 6. On page 63, we're starting on page 55. Okay, the motivation. Recently, I experienced difficulty in sending text on my iPhone. Boo. I tried everything to fix the problem, from closing apps to shutting off my phone and rebooting, all the way to force quit the action. Your turn. The action you turn to when nothing else seems to work. Then I proceeded to more complicated steps, but there was no relief from the annoying problem. This experience confirmed how much we rely on and how important our smartphones are in everyday life. Just so happened that our youngest son was in India speaking at a conference and distributing books to pastors and leaders. He ran into some difficult and and he would and was texting me, but I couldn't reply to his message for hours due to the glitch in my phone. It took more than 15 minutes to type out a sentence or two, then my phone would suddenly back out of the app, lose everything typed, and I'd have to start the process all over. Oh, lovely. I got one short text to him in 4 hours. I wanted to say more, but I couldn't. Needless to say, I was very frustrated. Yeah, I can see that. All more reason not to get iPhones. No, not necessarily. Finally, I brought my phone to the experts, technicians who knew far more how it worked. I'd attempted to solve the problem for days, but they got to the root of the trouble in less than 15 minutes. Within a couple Within a couple hours, I was texting once again without problems. Turns out I had inadvertently done something that jammed up my phone's operating system. What it what it hadn't what if I hadn't sought out the solution? What if I hadn't taken the time to consult the experts? I would still be using the phone far beneath its intended functioning level and tragically wasting a lot of time. It would have hindered communications with my family, team, and friends. No, I think he would have sought out the solution of buying a new one. Although that would have given him the same results, but with a different phone. Let's take it a step further. Suppose I never experienced the reality of texting. 30 years ago, I didn't even know what a text was, let alone a smartphone. Just 100 years ago, there wasn't even transcontinental phone calls. It didn't exist back then. I would have been delighted to labor 4 hours just to send an instant message to my son in India. And I had the Morse code back then, so wouldn't have been quite the same, but it would back then would have been delighted to labor 4 hours. Send instruments. Would it laboring 4 hours? Does it really? Is it really instant then? He gets it instantly, but yeah, but it really instantly done it. Any communication would have been better than no communication at all. Without knowing what was possible to me, I wouldn't have been so diligent to seek out the solution and press through the difficulties standing in my way. But my iPhone, I had experienced the benefits. So, in this knowledge that caused the frustration levels to be so high. Without knowing our potential, there will be an absence of these desires and drive to achieve something. Most of us don't know the power of a united military unit, as my friend the Navy SEAL does. Can you imagine if he had a glitch in his platoon that was causing failure? He wouldn't just be irritated, but quite possibly dead. Think back to the Old Testament story. The Old Testament story, you can imagine ex, uh, exploration level of Israel with as Akan. They had experienced great success in the Battle of Jericho, but after AI attended 36 funerals of close friends, well, not sure whether they would have been close friends, but consoling the families of dead soldiers. Can you imagine Paul's frustration in seeing his beloved Corinthians suffer? There, the terrible consequences of spiritual kryptonite, weakness, unshakable sickness, and premature death. He was well aware of their potential, but they were blind to it. Their personal potential outweighed the greater potential of the community. What about you? And what about the Christian community you're part of? I would imagine that the reason you are reading this challenging message is because you know deep down there's more in the Christian experience. God has placed this desire in your heart. You're more interested in living a full life in His presence and witnessing dynamic spiritual transformation in your community than avoiding the temporary discomfort of truth. Uh, just seeing what we got here. Um, these two major benefits. Your light has come. There are two major benefits that will uh, result from our study in this book. One will significantly heighten your community effectiveness, and the other will enhance your potential with greater fruitfulness, fulfillment, and intimacy with God. Up to this point, and focus has been on community, but eventually we'll transition our focus back to you as an individual. What should our vision be for our community? As example, on my iPhone, the answer to the question is with fuel. This question will fuel the desire and motivation for you to continue searching out and rectifying what hinders us from our potential. Isaiah prophesies, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon you. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and deep darkness the people. But the Lord will arise and shine over you, and his glory will be upon you." Isaiah 6, chapter 60, verses 1 and 2, New King James Version. First thing I want to point out is that Isaiah is not referring to heaven, and he's not speaking of the millennial reign of Christ, the time period when Jesus will reign on earth for 1,000 years, as depicted in the book of Revelation. The prophet is also not referring to the new heaven and the new earth that Peter and other writers foretell. No, he is describing a time period when darkness shall cover the earth. So this prophecy certainly can, and I believe is speaking of our day. According to the prophet, deep darkness is going to be upon people, and not just in a geographical pockets, but the entire earth. We are living in his we are living in a time when darkness is growing deeper. We are drifting further and further from the heart of our Creator. I'm not speaking only of atheists, agnostics, and those in cults, but many who profess Christianity. This is a time when Paul specifically states people will no longer listen to sound and wholesome teaching. They will follow their own desires and will look for teachers who will tell them whatever their itching ears want to hear. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 3. He then laments, they will turn their ears from the truth. Verse 4. In this time period, Isaiah states that the authentic believers are going to shine, stand out. Think of it like this. If you walk into a dark room and flip the switch, the darkness is immediately repelled. Darkness can't overcome light. And you have you heard of a flash dark? Not a flashlight, because no matter how dark it is, light will overcome and expel the darkness. Jesus states, we are the light of the world. We should shine. We should be stronger than darkness. But how and what does this look like? According to Isaiah, we should shine in a way that unbelievers will see his glory. The Hebrew word for glory is kabod, which means splendor, greatness, wealth, might, abundance, honor, majesty, and heaviness. Think for a moment of what is being stated. When the Bible speaks of the glory of God, it's referring to the splendor of God, the greatness of God, the wealth of God, the might of God, the abundance of God, the honor of God, the majesty of God. The final definitive word, heaviness or weight, would indicate these attributes are not in short supply, but rather at full strength. Simply put, its weight, it's the weight of his gratefulness. Paul writes that God has placed his knowledge in the hearts so we could know of the glory of God. He goes on to say, we know, we now have this light shining in our hearts, but we ourselves are like a frail clay jars containing this great treasure. This makes it clear that our great power is from God and not ourselves. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 7. And I think I'm going to end there, although we got this part here, but I want to leave a bit for tomorrow. I don't want to go too far today. So thank everybody for tuning in and watching. Remember to hit the like, subscribe if you get to, hit the notification bell, all that wonderful, lovely stuff. So bye for now. God bless. Have a great and wonderful day. And hopefully see you at high noon.